Okay, here we are with Eddie Lloyd in the beautiful Sydney, Australia. The waves lapping in the background, and we are running low on light, so we better get straight into this. I should be upfront and transparent that this is one of my best friends in the world, a man I care deeply about, and was one of three best men at my wedding earlier this year. And you know, one of the things about what I'm trying to do with Journey is build something that is not about someone that's played guitar or, you know, spoken Korean or whatever it might be from the time they were 3 years old. It's about how do you, as an adult, get in and do some of those things you've always wanted to do, those things that you've always been passionate about and wanted to explore. How do you actually get started and go and build the habits necessary and the network necessary to do that? And a prime example of that is Eddie Lloyd, my best mate, who started playing guitar, I don't know, must have been when you were about 18?
Yeah, 18, 19.
18, 19. And I think that's a really good segue to just let you freestyle on, you know, how it came about and tell us a bit about your story and your journey.
Okay, sure. Well, for me, yeah, you're right. It was about 18, 19 years old, and I hadn't picked up an instrument prior to that, but music was always something that I felt, and I always reacted to it positively. So when I went to university at 18, 19 years old, I had a friend of mine who played guitar, and from that point, and I was always, from the whole social scene up there was basically music based, so I was really lucky to be immersed in that sort of scene. So the journey started there amongst people who played, and I think that was key.
Yeah.
From there, I ended up just going down to the road to the local cash converters and buying a $50 guitar.
Yep.
And then from there, came back up to home, where a friend of mine was sitting on the couch, and asked him to play me a few chords, and I learnt off him to begin with, and then it just started to steamroll. And I compare it to kind of walking. You know, like you start walking, and it's your fingers start loosening up and understanding the fretboard and coming up and down it. So it's like walking and crawling and then walking. And then once you've begin to be able to run, and then you can really move, and then you can become a lot more free-spirited, and that's where you know, expression and creativity really starts to explode. So that's really for me where the journey started and where it is now. It's full of freedom and creativity.
Okay, and so when you always wanted to play.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit about that again in terms of, okay, you got the opportunity when you were 18 and you got to immerse yourself when you were at university, but prior to that, talk a little bit about that pull towards playing guitar or music in general.
Yeah, well, for me, it was always that magnet in the corner of the pub or the corner of a party, or wherever there happened to be live music, there was always a draw. So for me, understanding and being aware of that draw, I knew that's where I would always end up playing guitar, because it was just a calling the whole time. You know?
And so you got the opportunity, you started playing, you got better and better and better.
Yeah.
Did you, when you picked up the guitar and you started and you sort of reaffirmed your original belief that this is something you wanted to do, did you have a set goal in mind as to what success looked like with guitar, like, or was it just something you loved and you just wanted to keep playing? Like, talk to me about what you had originally in mind when you started playing.
Yeah. So, and this is interesting, because this hasn't changed really all that much. Because the goal has always, the goal has been, and my vision and version of success with guitar playing has always been to be able to join in with other people playing music and to share and just to jam, just have fun. Really, that's really the end game here. And what I'm doing now, the more I immerse myself in really great guitar players and things like this, I am seeing a vision of perhaps writing my own stuff and playing in gigs and things like that. But at the moment, and what it's always been about jamming and sharing and just being involved.
That's really interesting. So you're not 18 anymore. You maybe maybe 20, 21. And so you've sort of achieved. I mean, I've known you well enough to know that you achieved that. Where the ability to jam and create new things and enjoy that with other people. Probably quite a few years ago. You've improved on it since then, and now you're starting to look at, okay, well, what's next? And that's really interesting. And you mentioned either maybe performing, maybe it's writing, and I know you've written a few songs already. Talk a bit more about what that next vision might look like, and how you're evaluating those different options, if you are consciously doing that.
Yeah, I think I am consciously progressing towards something, but at the same time I'm not. I don't know. I don't bind myself into to be able to have to go to the next step, and this has to be it.
Yeah.
As long as I'm playing guitar and I'm amongst people, and that there's a bit of sharing involved, then I'm open to whatever comes.
Forward.
I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
And I'm having fun in the meantime.
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal, right?
Yeah, great.
It's not fundamentally the end game.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing your story and your journey. And the next thing I want to do, and whilst I'm creating this app and thinking about how best to help people, something I suffer greatly from is the analysis paralysis problem, whereby I'll spend hours and hours and hours researching the best way to approach a certain problem or something I want to do, when actually that time's much better spent just getting started. And I certainly don't want, when you've got 50 guitarists that are all map makers, the last thing I want is for somebody to spend hours scrolling through and not just get started. So the first question after hearing your story I want to ask you is, what are the one or two things that someone, or three things, whatever it is, what they should do today to just get started on this thing they want to do?
Yeah, well, like in my story, I mean, I went down to the local pawn shop and bought myself a $50 guitar, right? So I think that's step one. Just go down and buy a $50 cheap ass guitar that's just going to do the job, and we'll get you going. And I think secondly is decide a song that you like. It's just because you need to hear and feel music, and if you're playing something that doesn't feel right or is a bit foreign to you, then it's going to be another step that you don't really need.
That's right. And there's so many songs that are like 3 or 4 chords, right? You just pick one of those that you love, and don't start with Mary Had a Little Lamb kind of thing.
Start with something cool.
That's great advice.
And then you enjoy, so yeah.
So next question.
Yeah.
And this is a subject that from the research we've done is super important in terms of someone's ability to stick with a journey or a goal. But isn't really something that's been focused on in the media. There's a lot about goal setting and there's a lot about habit formation, but no one really talks too much about identity and the importance of that. And so when you picked up a guitar and you decided this was something you wanted to do, you were either consciously or subconsciously trying to work towards a version of yourself, or a new identity, or improving your own identity. And so I really want to ask you, was there a vision of that sort of person that you wanted to be later in life, like now that you can play? How did it play out? Does that now match what you had in mind back then?
Right.
And yeah, I guess how has it shaped who you are?
Yeah.
We're getting deep. We're getting deep. The sun's setting,
I haven't played you a song yet. Well, how it shaped me as a person, I think for me it's all about rhythm. And without getting too deep and too out there, I believe that there's a certain vibration that the rhythm will bring, and that gives me balance in everything that I do. So not necessarily in guitar, but in the conversations that I have and the people that I meet and the choices that I make. So that's, I believe, it's taught me a rhythm, and with that comes a vibration of whatever sort, and that's how I think it's really helped me, who I am.
Interesting. So it's not like just like an outlet. You had a bad day, you go home, you play guitar, you feel better. It's actually much bigger than that, in that it's providing balance in everything that you do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's get on to habits.
Okay.
Now, Vincent van Gogh once said that great things are done by a series of small things brought together.
Okay. Yes.
Once you've set a goal, no matter what it is, probably the most important thing towards how successful you're going to be in that journey are the habits that you put in place. So talk to me, what are the habits that led you to be the guitarist and musician you are today?
Okay. Well, thank you for calling me a musician, by the way. That's
look,
only to be
it's only because we're on camera, but I'll give that one to you. You're definitely a muso. You're a muso these days.
Thanks, brother. Well, for me, I was lucky enough to be learning guitar in a circumstance where I was at university. So I would often come home after an hour at uni, or 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it might be. But whenever I came home, and rather than getting straight,
did you go to university, Eddie, or you were just playing guitar?
That was awesome. So when I came home, I would give myself 30 minutes, which would probably turn into an hour, which probably then turn an hour and a half. But I would give myself that space to just completely jam and get on the guitar. And I was lucky enough to be in a space where I'd come home and people would be banging on Tupperware and whatever sort of noise that they could make, I was walking into. So I was sort of walked into that environment, and that's important too, is to actually immerse yourself, and that's a really good habit to get into.
Okay, so you were lucky back then that you had that ability when you got started.
Yes.
You now have a successful career, not in music, but in
Not in music.
in marketing, you would say, and you're working in as a normal person that doesn't have much time. You're working long hours with your family business.
Yeah.
How do you find the time now? What are the habits look now?
Chill out time. Well, I don't own a TV, so that's key. And I didn't really own a TV in uni either, so that sort of lent itself as well. So it's just about applying where I enjoy it, right? So, and that comes back to intrinsically, this is something that I really enjoy doing and that I really like to do, and that makes it easy. But yeah, definitely trying to remove distractions that can occur.
Yep, great.
And just a bit of dedication, yeah.
And so it's about that dedication of playing that half an hour a day or whatever it is until you get good enough that you just love it, by the sounds of things, and you just want to play.
Yeah, you just want to jam, yeah.
Okay, now this is something obviously that was really important to you from the outset, from what you said, and that is your friends group and your network, and being able to jam with other people has been one of the core reasons for you picking up this craft.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what that friends group looks like now, and then talk to me about how you form that and advice that you could give to others that are trying to create that themselves.
Wow. Well,
first question: what does that group look like now that you're playing music with?
Okay. There are a lot of musical people. Yeah, there's a lot of musical. I would say, I'm really, really fortunate, and then I have a lot of friends and incredible friends, and I would say within each sort of pocket of friends, there's always one or two musicians, which are always keen to have a bit of a jam, and whether that be really cool DJs creating their own stuff, or have got a marvelous selection of music of their own, or I mean, it's wide and far, but there is a certain grounding, I think, within each of those people that I feel and that I can relate to. I think so.
Speaking of music, we've got some pretty horrible music coming from the water on a boat going past. Let's hope that they are. It's a party boat. They'll hopefully disappear soon. We'll keep going.
We could totally join them.
Yeah, we could. I think you could probably do a better job than what they're playing over there. Let's stick with this for one more second. Okay, so it's about tapping into, finding out who in your groups of friends, no matter, maybe you're in a basketball team, whatever it might be, there's always going to be somebody in that group that
100%.
plays something.
There's going to be something
about getting together with them.
Yeah.
Cool.
And if there's not, like, this is actually key too, because if there isn't anyone, then
I'm just going to point the camera over and
it's so good.
There's the party boat.
It's the perfect sunset tune. Talking about, if you don't have friends, once you start picking something up, there is a natural thing that will occur, and that things and people who play instruments will come into your life. So that's a fear that shouldn't be a fear, because it will just naturally happen.
So once you get good enough that you can just play a few chords, and you're sitting there, where you're at a party or you're at the park or wherever you are, you'll just people will just that also can play will come up to you and.
No, you don't even have to be good enough. You can just start by playing and practicing chords, and because you're doing that and you're putting that into the world yourself, the natural conversations that you'll have, all of that stuff you'll build a community just by doing it yourself, even if you don't have it in your immediate vicinity. So, and with any community, any true any good community, they will embrace any level of playing, whether you've just picked it up or whether you're at the other end of the scale.
So is that one of the beautiful things about the group that you're moving into, is that musicians, when it comes to music anyway, they're not judgmental. They just want to play.
Yeah, there's
and they
just
want to
complete
embrace.
respect.
Yeah.
There's a complete respect of the person, either for giving it a go or just putting it out there, because it's quite confronting, right? Like, you're making noise. And that can be confronting.
And not that you're trying to sell this, we're not trying to sell playing guitar to somebody. Someone who's watching this,
no, you got to want
someone
to
who's watching this is already wanting to play guitar.
Yeah.
But I think that's such a great selling point. It's not just about the music you create. You're also becoming a part of this this amazing community of people that are supportive and want to see you do well.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we've talked to identity, we've talked to the friends group, we talked about habits, we talked about success. I want to just touch lastly on the challenges that you faced through this journey, and what are the biggest ones that you faced? What are the biggest ones that someone picking up a guitar are likely to face, and how do you overcome them?
Okay. So definitely laziness, bit of boredom, because you'll go through the peaks and the troughs, and naturally as humans we just get bored. That happens at times.
Yep.
Well, for me. And so I think also not being able to get past the next stage. So you'll learn quickly, and then you'll plateau out, and then you'll learn again. So it's those plateaus that are quite difficult, because you kind of don't know where you're going. So for me, it's always been about just letting that happen, and don't fight that process.
Yeah.
It's just part of it.
Yeah.
And guitar's come into my life, and it's been and been quite vibrant, and it's also been really, really quiet and hasn't had any big part of my life for quite some time. So, but I let that stuff happen naturally because that's what it is.
You don't force it.
Don't
it
force
just comes
it,
in and
yeah.
out, and
It just happens. And then what will happen usually is that I will catch up with a mate, or I will see a really inspirational moment live, or walking down the street, whatever it might be, and then that's what usually kicks it up again. So just let it. Just
So
let
it's looking for those-
Just let the stuff.
at some
happen.
point you get inspired by something, and
Yeah.
you're like, shit, I got to pick up the guitar again.
Yeah,
and
you
get
just
back
come
into
home
this.
and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a pick it up, and then you start
off-
up
and
again.
then off it goes
then
again.
off it goes again. So
Yeah.
you just got to trust in the process.
Nice. Okay, I think that's everything for the core of all the questions I wanted to ask. The next part, the last final part, is the quickfire section.
Oh, wow.
Which is really just to give people a better idea of you, but also the key things that they need to think about in picking up guitar.
Okay.
So first thing, top 3 resources that somebody should look to for playing guitar. You know, I'm going to get a whole bunch more from you that they'll be able to access.
Okay.
But the top 3 that you like, without these 3 things, it's going to be really hard for you.
Okay, YouTube's great.
YouTube, yep.
Guitar Tabs is awesome.
That's an app, right?
That's an app, yep.
Yep.
And Mates,
And Mates, love it.
great resource.
Perfect.
Use it, abuse it.
And guitar, just tell them just quickly what Guitar Tabs is, because I think it's a really crucial one as well.
Guitar Tabs basically gives you tablature and chords
For any song you want,
for
right?
any song you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Top people that inspire you with this journey.
My lady, Retta, definitely, and my friends, I would say.
Nice. Your favorite book and/or movie?
My favorite book or movie.
Doesn't have to relate to guitar. Could
I
be
would
anything.
say I recently read Papillon, Butterfly in
Yeah.
English, or Schmetterling in German, and I really enjoyed that. Adventure full.
Love it. Okay. Favorite place for you to work on your craft, to work on playing guitar?
Wow, right here.
Right here,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is cool, man.
Yeah.
Like any seaside location's great. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Any countryside, just quietness, peace, nature.
Out in the nature.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Love it. Favorite place to relax and switch off?
I'm good at doing that in lots of different places.
Your desk at work.
Desk at work, driving to work.
Favorite travel destination?
I would say at the moment, well, I spent a lot of time in Colombia, so I really enjoyed there. So I'd say that
Nice.
at the moment.
Next travel destination?
Finland.
Beautiful. Book you're reading now?
What do you mean?
Are you reading a book right now? And if so,
Oh,
what
book
it
I'm
is?
reading now.
Yeah.
A book I'm reading now. I haven't got one at the moment, but I've got 3 sitting at home, and I don't know what they're about.
Okay. Last one, and it's a big one. If you were to write a book, what
Yes.
would it be about?
Wow, these are quickfire questions.
Just to answer the questions, right? They're fire questions.
Love.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah.
Edward Lloyd, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love you lots. Thanks so much
too, man.
for being a map maker on Journey.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure.